Yo! So this is a 23 Iron Docks, Tyrannical Bolstering, Explosive Shrouded. So for this first pool of the dungeon, since everyone's got cooldowns, I like to pull these two packs along with the captain here. If this is Fortified week, I definitely recommend using Lust here. This starts to hurt. But it's not too bad now that they've nerfed the foot soldiers a little bit. And since it's tyrannical. So things to watch out for here. Our foot soldiers are going to charge at your ranged. So when you're tanking these, maybe mark these or let everyone know in advance that foot soldiers should be like the top priority here. Even though it's bolstering week, I just told my crew to cleave off of the foot soldiers and the captain here, because those are the ones that do the charge out and then apply the bleed. And then also in this pack, the captain in here will also do Blade Storm, so let your melee know that they might need to pop out every once in a while, because melee have big brain. Also, over on the left side of my screen, next to my B-res counter, next to like my name frame, there you can see a little chart there that tells you, keeps track of explosives and who's killing them. You can see our priests are killing some, I've killed some. My priest actually asked for help on this dungeon because it's a little bit more damage intensive than normal, so you will notice I for once took Tiger Palm and put it on my bar. That's right, I'm using Tiger Palm to kill explosives that are in melee. Also means that I don't have that extra yard to pool the 40-yard range with G-Wave, and also don't have those to kill explosives. So on this pack, the things to watch out for are also fire coming down from the archer captain, and then we also do have that other champion that I pulled in that's going to be taking care of things. You'll see here while I'm tanking this, I'm just double checking my route because I do have a rogue in here, which is going to change up how I do things here in a little bit, so I just wanted to check what my percentage was for there. But basically here, same thing, watch out for the foot soldiers, and just take care of these two champions that are here. Not too much of a difficult pack, but for range, you can see our warlock seated over there. I don't know if that was fire or the charge from the foot soldier, but either way, it can be a little bit more dangerous for range than it is for us as tanks. Now the next pack here, because it is tyrannical, I'm going to go ahead and pull this technician and this other small pack over here. This is just to make sure that we have the percent that we need later on. And we just want to kind of do it pretty quickly because, we haven't used Lust yet. We're going to use that on the first boss. So just taking care of these. Now, same thing here. Watch out for the foot soldiers. These archers that are in here are going to the Deadeyes. They're going to be, just randomly attacking people. So that damage can definitely build up with bolstering. So just be wary of that and just, make sure that everything's getting cleaved down pretty evenly. Now, one of the good things to do with the ring of peace there is if your Deadeyes are kind of away from you, you can group them all back up by just ring of piecing. You can also use Clash to get that in there. You can see here, as soon as those things are dying, I am pulling this next pack, making sure not to pull before bolstering goes off. But you'll notice I pulled the two middle foot soldiers and then the pack that's on the left there. That's because the pack on the right has the Shrouded mini-boss. And in this dungeon, it just takes up too much time. We haven't used Lust yet, so we're just going to skip that for now. There's a couple easier packs that we can deal with here after the boss. So here again, things to look out for. There's some foot soldiers. There are a Deadeye in here. I believe this has 3 foot soldiers when you pull it all together. Plus, it's got this other captain in here, which is going to do a Blade Storm effect. You can see that happening right now. You want to watch out for that, as well as the Leeching Claws from the Shrouded. Again, not too difficult of a pack, especially if you guys are taking care of the foot soldiers fast enough, but if you see that your range are dangerous in a kind of low spot, and the foot soldiers are about to charge, you can either leg sweep them or throw out a ring of peace. I didn't do that here because it wasn't needed, but are things that you can do if you find that your group is taking a little bit more damage from. Alright, after that, we're going to pull all the way over here because we want to avoid that pack we haven't pulled yet. Again, it's got the Shrouded mini-boss on it. We don't want to deal with that. And we're just going to start off with this boss. So Now, we had a Pug Hunter in here who lusted right away. Normally, I don't actually lust on this part of the boss. I wait till he dismounts the wolf, because that's when it gets dangerous. Here in this first part, there's literally like nothing going on, okay? He's going to fire some barrages that you can move out of and some fire. That's it. That's not the dangerous part. I kind of... Go figure. We told the Pug when to lust beforehand, but it happens when it happens, right? So, once he dismounts, it's important to taunt the boss and make sure that you are facing your wolf away. Like, right when he jumps off, he's going to charge at you, kind of like the third boss does. And so you want to make sure melee aren't in front. I often tell my melee just make sure they're on the sides. As soon as he jumps off, that's when he's going to start doing the reckless provocation, which hopefully you have a priest, hunter, warlock, shaman, something in the group that can do an offensive purge ability on the boss so that you don't get CC'd. If you don't have that in a group, be prepared to roll, chi torpedo, whatever you need to do. Just stay away from the boss and make sure that you don't have like Jade Tornado or Spinning Crane Kick going, because if you hit it, you're going to get feared, stunned in place. But again, we're just kind of marking the wolf, making sure that thing dies, and once the wolf dies, this boss goes back to doing nothing besides that reckless provocation and then the barrages and the arrows. So as soon as those things are done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to start pulling additional packs in here. So once things get under control here, you're going to see that the packs over here. Now this is something, if I don't have a rogue, I'll just pull this Shrouded guy. But because I have the rogue, we're going to pull all the trash that's over there, and that's going to be so that we can do a skip later on in the dungeon. So I've opted right now not to do that, but sometimes if it's a lower key, I will pull it. Here I was being a little bit more conservative since it is a 23. But this Shrouded mob is definitely not hard to deal with the boss. Like I said, the only thing the boss you really have to look out for as a tank is moving when there's fire on the ground near you, and then just moving away real quick when reckless provocation comes out. And you can see as that came out, I've used this time to go ahead and pull in other trash. One of the nice things about the changes, the bolstering that they made in Season 3 and Season 2 was that it no longer affects bosses. So even if these had died on top of the boss, they won't bolster it. So you can see a little awkward because fire is coming out, but I'm just trying to help out with the explosions and keep threading everything. None of these mobs are dangerous. There's some Deadeyes in here. There might be a foot soldier or two, but I don't actually think this part has the foot soldier in it. So these are just deckhands and technicians, and you can just cleave them down with the boss at this point. The technicians do put the little brown, gray, whatever color they are, pools on the ground. So you just have to watch out, like that one right there, it spawned in melee. If you walk into that and then use any attack, you'll get stunned for a second. So just if you see it go down, pull away from it and try not to attack. So again, this is like 2 to 3 pulls in here, with it being a 23 and bolstering. I'm doing it as 3 pulls total. You saw I did part with the boss. Now I'm doing another pull, and then I'll do another pull after that. But there's just Deadeyes, deckhands, and technicians in here. So again, these aren't anything that's super lethal. It's more dangerous for your range if they stand in those black puddles and keep on stunning themselves. And then just, you know, as bolstering stacks go up, those Deadeyes will start to hurt a little bit more. So just make sure that those are dying pretty evenly. But again, pulling this trash here, because it is so simple, it's going to allow us to do a rogue shroud skip to skip both of the chimeras and the like champion pack right before the third boss, which is going to save us a lot of time, because those packs with the chimeras and the hunters that kind of jump around, they take quite a bit of time, plus they do quite a bit of damage. You know, every time they disengage, they're throwing down those traps. Melee tend to walk in them. You have to walk over to, you know, get to them. So it's just a lot easier to pull this than it is to pull all that trash over there. So you will see that in here there is again, just the technicians. There's not actually any foot soldiers over here. So this is like free % over here for sure. Again, this is the pack that's just going to throw the gray stuff. You can see it going onto the range. It does prefer range, but every once in a while it will throw into melee, so just watch out for that. So after this is where you're going to do the Iron Star pulls, and this is where you want to talk it out with your group beforehand how you're going to deal with these. So the idea here is to use the Iron Stars to kill as many as the big hulking dudes as you can. Their name is escaping me right now, but you want to basically pull the packs in there so that one Iron Star will kill the 2 large mobs here that we're about to run past, plus the one that's padding towards you. and then anything behind it, right? We need to kill all this trash that's by the Iron Stars. So we got the Ogron Labor, that's what they're called. Grabbing the second one. Everyone else should stay mounted. I've told my rogue to be ready to get to the Iron Star. You do want to have your healer ready because these things do smash, or stomp rather, and they do hurt quite a bit. But here we're just going to use the Iron Stars to kill these things. Now, with the second pack, I did this a little bit. It was our first time trying this out. So ideally, you actually want to grab the 3 Ogron packs that you see walking around, plus this, and pull it into the second Iron Star. You can see with that Iron Star that we just went through over there, it only hit 1 Ogron, which actually isn't ideal. You want to pull those 3 back into the second one, get that killed, and then ideally have some type of like misdirect to get the next 2 packs, including the one that starts by the boxes over there, and have it die in this third line here where we put the orange marker using the 3rd star. That's going to be ideal for you. You do want to note that the stars can actually only hit a cap of, I believe it's like 15 to 18 targets. So it's important that when you do pull the Ogrons that you make sure that they're in front of everything else and that the small guys are behind. So you can see because of this, we have a little bit of trash left over that we're going to have to go ahead and pull. Not ideal, but in a later key, we did do this successfully. So I'm going to have a tip and trick video here coming up, and I'll go into this in more detail with some video footage where it's actually like exactly what we need. Again, the nice thing about the trash that's like left when you finish the Iron Star, or anything that you missed, is that these are, again, deckhands, technicians. There are a couple foot soldiers in here, so there's not anything that's like too deadly. You can see we missed quite a bit here. A little awkward, but the foot soldiers are the only noteworthy things in here, so just make sure that, again, you are watching out for those and making sure that they're not, destroying your range. If 2 charge the same range at the same time, they're going to be in quite a bit of trouble, even after the nerf that they did to their charge. You can see why this is so important to kill as many of these with the Iron Star. You can see here on my timer here, we're going on 2 minutes that this is added to our pool. So we didn't really save as much time as we wanted to with these Iron Stars, but luckily we'll make it up here in a little bit. But ideally, you finish off that pack, and this next one that we're running to here by the boxes, you want to grab these ones as well. The Ogron doesn't matter as much because it turns into that Infiltrator, but getting these other 3 mobs is important. Now, if you're going to deal with these ones, one of the things that you can do if you have an all-ranged group for this one is actually pull into the blast area where they're throwing the cannons. The cannons will actually hit all of the mobs in there besides the Infiltrator, so they'll actually do damage to it. So what I do is I normally pull it out, and as soon as I see the cannons coming, I just chi torpedo my way out or roll out and then let them get hit, maybe throw down a ring apiece to make sure they're there. If dealing with this, you do want to kill the Infiltrator first, because when it dies, it has like 7 seconds for it to like get, caged up and sent away, and all that time you're counted as in combat and you can't mount up. So just make sure you wait. As long as they're firing at a different area that isn't one of these 2 areas, you're good to run. I grabbed the big Ogron and this pack, and again, these are things that can be hurt by the cannon, so it's important to use Ring of Peace, knockbacks, even Clash if you need it, to pull these into the line of the cannon fire. I've told my team to focus on the Ogron and just kind of let the passive cleave and the cannons kill the small dudes. But again, I'm pulling this in a way that where I'm actually out of the safe area of the boxes, so that the mobs, when the cannon fire comes, you can see me position my camera here to see where the cannon fire is coming, they're going to get hit, and I'm just going to move out of the way to safety. I do take 2 hits there, but I'm ready with the Cell Brew to cover myself. And you can see it does quite a significant amount of damage here. And again, because this is bolstering week, we definitely want to make sure that Ogron is dying first, because if it gets bolstered and then does its stomp, it's gonna really hurt. Also, keep in mind there's flaming arrows here, so again, use charge, use ring. You can see I keep on using it to position things so that they're not you know, screwing us over. Again, there, saw the cannon coming, so you see me chi torpedo out of the way, and it's just dealing damage to the mobs that are left. After that, we're going to do the same thing with the next pack. So I've just pulled this as it's finishing dying, and then the next 4 mobs, we're going to pull in such a way that they're standing in the cannon fire. So I tell my melee to stand in this area where they start at, and I just kind of pull them out just a little bit. Again, the infiltrator's not going to get hit by the cannons, but the Battlemaster and the 2 flame shooters are going to get hit by that. So just kind of tank this here. Again, watch for the cannons. I see them coming, then I hide. You can see my rogue didn't get in close enough. You do want to be quite a bit behind so that you don't get hit by that, because it will kind of like cleave just past the safety part of the box. But you can see just how much damage is being done to those adds. And as soon as they get low, I'm going to start pulling towards the boss to stop the cannon fire and activate the bosses from coming down. Now, unfortunately, they fixed this boss. You used to be able to tank it in the corner around that pillar on the right there, and nothing would happen. That's not the case. So, I've got a weak aura that I kind of created, messed around with. I pulled it off Wago, and then I recreated it. So basically what I do is I set focus to the guy that puts the shield up, who you can see I marked with skull, and I just keep my focus there. Now, I'll share this weak aura in my description, but basically what this does is as soon as he starts casting the shield, it's going to shout in party for everyone to get off skull and to switch on to X, and at that time, I'm going to pull X away. Now, one of the nice things about being a monk is that we can dash, chi torpedo, roll, whatever you want to call it, away from the mobs, and I can provoke / taunt the big guy, and he's going to come away faster. As long as none of the melee or range interrupt the boss that we are killing, the one that does the shield, he won't follow. Now, a lot of times people will interrupt that, and that kind of sucks. But as soon as that shield's off, then my weak aura also says, hey, shield's off, get back on skull. So this is really good to have, especially in a pug, where people may not know that, because if you break the shield, it heals all 3 bosses, not just the boss you're killing, all 3 of them, for 15% of their total HP. So you can see here, when I pulled out, one of the rogues interrupted the cast, so he did follow, and in there, if that happens, you just need to tell your DPS to stop attacking, and while it may seem weird to stop attacking there, you know, it's safer than breaking the shield and having to kill 45 additional % of the total boss for the 3. Alternatively, if they do both come out like that, you can have the melee and range switch on to the small dude who gets stuck there in the corner. Or, you know, he's stationary, so he doesn't move. Alright, so that makes us a lot easier, and then one of the things to keep in mind with the big hulking guy is to make sure that he's going to do that dash, and he does do that towards you. So just make sure that you're in a position to where melee aren't going to get hit by that, or ranged. So I kind of try to point it away from the ranged, away from the melee. And then also the flames that go on, you want to position yourself away. He won't hit you if you're directly in front of him, but if you're more than like 3 yards away, he will hit you with that flame that he sends out towards the range. You can see how it spawns just past me. That visual's not exactly perfect. I figured out, like I said, it's about 3 yards. Anything more than that, you probably will get hit by that flame. So just be careful and watch out for that. So you can see me pulling up my route, just double checking that we have the % that we need here, which we do. So I'm just kind of preparing for the next thing because nothing here is too deadly. Unfortunately, this small guy doesn't move very much, so we're stuck here with the traps. If you have a high melee comp on this, I recommend killing him second instead of the flame dude. I just marked the flame dude with X because I wanted people to get off skull, but you could easily mark the other guy and just keep interrupting the shield guy. Alright, so what's important on this pull is to kill the hunter that throws the spears. He does do a cleave, so make sure you're pointing this away from your melee, and then when he jumps back, he's going to throw down those traps. Now, the Clefhoof's not nearly as dangerous. He will, you know, pick a range and charge at him and then enrage. Hopefully you've got a druid, hunter, or rogue that can just take care of that enrage, but basically, other than that, it's just tell your range to actually move. Once this hunter that I've marked, Thunderlord, dies, you can pull right into the next pack and just leave the Clefhoof up. Even though it's bolstering weak, doesn't matter. The big goal here is kill the hunters, these Thunderlords, ASAP, so that they're out of dealing damage, throwing spears at people, cleaving, doing all the traps, they're the deadly mob here, not the Glyphos. And once we get to this part, this is the last pack we're going to kill. We're going straight from this pack. We're going to use our Shroud that our Rogue provides to go straight to the boss. Now, if we don't have this Rogue, that extra pack where I did 3 pulls right after the first boss, you just don't do that, and then you can kill all this. But this saves you a lot of time because those 3 packs take a lot less time than these next 3 packs that have the 2 Chimeras, more of these Thunderlords, and another champion in it. So that's the idea behind doing it this way. Now, as far as I've seen, the Stampede that the Clefairy does, you can't like stun it or anything like that. It does just go off. It's not interruptible even through like paralyze or stuff like that. So it's something, again, just make sure that your group is aware of that they need to move if they've never done this place before. Alright, so once we do that, we're going to all mount up. Our Rogue's going to get in position, and we're going to go past both of these packs. Even though they're close together, you can actually squeeze through that middle of the second pack pretty easily. And then the thing to be careful of is the third pack, because the third pack pats around, and you can see right now it's in a good position. It's on the right, and it just kind of stays there. But these things pat from there towards the boss, and then back to the left, and then towards the boss, and then back to the right. So if you get it to where they're at the top there by the boss, you just want to wait for them to pat to the left or the right, and then you're going to go through. Now you'll see we're 1% off here. That's actually okay because there is an infiltrator on the ship, and we're just going to take care of that after this boss. Now, the important thing on this boss is to, again, just like on the first boss when the wolf is like free and running around, make sure that your melee are on the side and make sure that you're not pointing the boss towards the ranged. And then we want to make sure that we're using our leg sweep. As soon as the wolves become interactable, you want to leg sweep that. And then use Ring of Peace to also help keep those wolves off. The wolves are extremely deadly if they hit on players for more than 4 or 5 seconds. Unless they're getting direct heals, they're gonna die. And then the other pet that this uncages is the Chimera. It requires you to either have like an interrupter rotation and you want to kind of like cleave off of it, right? Wrong. No. Here's what you're gonna do. As soon as it comes out, you're going to pull the boss away. It takes like 2 seconds to activate, and you're just going to paralyze it, and then you're just going to ignore it. You will have to re-paralyze it, but that's okay. Sometimes you get a second Chimera that comes out. It does Wolves, Chimera, Wolves, Chimera. If that happens, just have another person, ideally like a Rogue or a Demon Hunter, CC it. Hunters can do it, but Traps, you have to place it perfectly for it to hit. Even just a yard off, and it will count it as missing. So just have something ready for that isn't a hunter trap. Poly works from a mage as well. Hex works from a shaman as well. Also, when he does feeding time, if you have a hunter, rogue, mage in the group, those are all classes that can actually immune that. Hunters can feign death it. Rogues can simply vanish. If you have any night elves in it, they can also use the night elf vanish thing. And then mages can both invis and ice block it. So those are things that you can use to take care of the feeding time. And also, as you see here, Binding Shot is excellent for keeping the wolves at bay as well. I do like to throw out my Ring of Peace just to help out, along with that leg sweep that I talked about. You'll see I keep on turning my camera to take a look at this Chimera. I don't have like a focus set up for it. I probably should. But again, once you get to like 20-25 seconds, just make sure you go over and CC it, because again, we don't want that to break. Alright, second Chimera coming out. Again, told my Rogue to go over and blind it. It's blind, and we can just finish off the boss nice and easy. Alright, from here, again, we need 1 more %. So the Shrouded guy is just on the far side of the ship. Like, instead of going towards the bosses, you just keep on going straight across like this bridge here, and he's right around that other side. This is something you can pull after you deal with the first guy on the boss, and just kind of come over and grab him as you're running back. But I grabbed him here just because I wanted to be a little bit safe. I know that it's Tyrannical 23. The big dude from this, you know, threesome of bosses actually hurts quite a bit. So I just want to take care of them. Plus, we had like 5.5 minutes, so I figured it was safe for us to take care of it. But if you've got less time than that, again, recommend pulling this when either there's the 2 guys left or just the guy by himself. And you can grab that anytime that you get knocked back. And you just bring him up to the boss window. Now, another thing to be careful of here is make sure that your range are spread out. You can say I put markers down for the range. That's because the cannon from this first guy until Skull is dead, it does like a straight line, so you want to make sure they're spread out, and then make sure that we're tanking the boss away from them. I've also told my melee to make sure they're on either opposite sides or at least 8 yards away from each other when we're attacking this, so that they're not getting hit from the cannon barrage, and when the guy jumps around and does his like leap, they're not getting damaged. One thing to notice is that, you know, while we have the lusty buff up currently, you want to make sure that you don't lust in the first part. The first part is actually the shortest between him smashing everyone away and the next time he does it again. So just wait until after the first smash and then lust when you come back. Be aware that that guy that we're killing first, the one I've got marked with Skull, as soon as he comes back over, he's going to leap, and he's going to do the 3 leaps again and just smash on people, so just make sure people are far away. But from there, you are good to lust and just finish this guy off. Now, you'll notice I actually, as a monk, stayed up here. So the way that you do that is you can put down your Transcendence, and right after the knock happens, so it's not before the knock, but during the knock, he's going to knock, and you'll like stay there for a second, and then he'll start throwing you. As soon as you're up in the air and he starts throwing you, just spam your Transcendence button to like transfer, and you will just land right there. Now, it is important to know that you still take damage when he's throwing those missiles, so you'll see that I generally save a Cell Brew or Fort Brew or my Aegis Trinket to be ready for it. I didn't have any of my defensives up that I wanted to use. Cell Brew was not quite up yet, so I just came with the group and then used the gateway here. But again, the rest of them, I am going to end up staying up there. And it's just a way to do a little bit more damage, but again, you are going to take damage as a tank. But it does ensure that it gets broken ASAP. He'll always do the 1 set of firing, but he won't do any more than that. Now, I've marked Skull for us to kill the big guy and just cleave onto the smaller guy. He really doesn't do that much damage to anyone else. It's mostly just to the tank. So that's another reason why I let myself get sent across that one time, and then I pull myself back with the teleport through the gateway, just because I wanted to make sure I had more defensives ready to go for this part. Do note that the timer on this is off. He will start the smash at 3 seconds, but you can see there, as soon as I got picked up, I transferred back. I've activated Cell Brew, and I'm just continuing to deal damage to Skull, cleaving onto the smaller guy, taking care of explosives. I did activate Aegis there as well. It's a good way to deal damage and, you know, stop myself from taking damage until the group bats back up into the battlefield. So from here, like I said, it's not too bad for the rest of your group. It's mostly damage on you that you have to worry about, and obviously explosives on explosive week. But from here, it's just kind of beat the boss before time runs out, and, you know, again, make sure to replace your transfer for Transcendence. You can see I just did it there. He smashes every 40 seconds here, just over 40 seconds actually, so the cooldown on Transcendence is 40 seconds, so you're good to use it every single time. Again, as long as you have a defensive. I didn't feel like I had enough defensives here, so again, I'm going to use this gateway to get up there quickly, just because I was taking so much damage with it being a 23. But on lower keys, anything like, you know, 15 to 20, even on Tyrannical week, you can comfortably just stay up there, just alternate Cell Brew, Aegis if you have it, Fort Brew. You can even Zen Med. Honestly, Zen Med's great there because it doesn't count it as a physical hit. It's not someone actually punching you. So you can just Zen Med the whole thing and you won't take any damage. I mean, you'll take damage, right? But it's 60% reduced, so it's barely anything. Alright, and that is the boss. That is 23 Iron Docks in time, Tyrannical, Bolstering, Explosive, Shrouded. If you got any questions about the route that I did here, or anything like that, let me know. Hit me up in the comments, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!